Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kindra Unplugged, the place to be for all things story, where we live to tell. And this message is for you entrepreneurs out there. One of the great things about you is you are totally immersed in what you do. You eat, think, breathe, sleep your business. And while this is a huge strength, it can also pose a challenge, because when the time comes to tell other people about what it is that you do, you often focus, because you're always focused, on your product or the service that you provide, when really that's not what people care about. What they care about, you know I'm gonna say it, is your story. Here's what I mean, a perfect example. One of my favorite, well, not one of my favorite thing to do on a Friday night, don't laugh at me, seriously, is to watch Shark Tank, the show where entrepreneurs come in and pitch their business or their product to a room full of shark investors, millionaires and billionaires. And inevitably, by the end of the episode, I'm like shaking my fists at the television, because these entrepreneurs come in and they're so excited about the product that they have to offer that they miss the story completely. Perfect example, there was a young woman who created handmade baby moccasins. And you know, the baby moccasins are cute, they're talking about the price, yada yada yada. It wasn't until she told the story that to raise enough funds to start her company, she actually broke glass out of aluminum window frames and then turned them into the scrapyard at the end of the summer for $200. And that's how she got started, that the shark's eyes lit up. Because yeah, they're baby moccasins everywhere. Nobody cared about her baby moccasins. What they cared about was her story. This happens all the time. It is so easy to tell your story that it's super easy to forget to tell it. But what you don't realize is, by overlooking telling your story, you are going to be overlooked. This is what people connect to. They don't connect to your product, they connect to you. And how they connect to you is through your story. Your story is the only way you're going to stop the inevitable scrolling on their iPad screen or in their news feed or whatever it is. Your story is the only way they're going to stop, listen, and care. And I gotta tell you, I'm a little embarrassed to say I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Honestly, I hesitated even sharing this story with you because it's really embarrassing, and I definitely should have known better, but I want you to learn from my mistake, and I wanted to show you how easy it is to overlook this, even for a storyteller. Alright, so here's what happened. You'll remember in our last episode of Kindra Unplugged, it was Valentine's Day, and I was teaching you how to craft a story that you could share with your loved one for the best Valentine's Day gift ever. Now, to give you a little bit of background, there's a lot of steps that go into putting these videos together. First I have to plan for it, then we film it, then there's the editing, then it goes through the processing, and email goes out to all of those people who have subscribed, so that exclusive email goes out, and then finally, after all of that's complete, the post and the link goes up on Facebook. And then you have to think about the right thing to say on Facebook. So the time came, it's time to post the link, and I wrote something like, "Here's the best Valentine's Day gift ever. Link." And then, so I hit submit and I waited. Because you all do this when you post something on Facebook, and I try to rise above it, and I for the most part have, but I waited for those little red notification numbers to tell me how many likes I've gotten and how many shares and comments. Nothing. Like, the whole, a couple hours went by, maybe, the several days, not several days, but I felt like several days, and nothing was happening. Maybe a like here, I don't even know if there was a comment. I went to bed that night, not like, wah, nobody likes me, but thinking to myself, what went wrong? Like, why isn't this content getting any love? Like, why isn't this being shared? And then in that moment, right before I fell asleep, I wondered if maybe the storyteller needed to tell a story. So the next day, got up, and I think it was maybe the very next day, and I decided to post the video again, but this time instead of some pitchy best Valentine's Day gift ever tagline, I wrote a story about my wedding day and how my soon-to-be husband and I each wrote a story basically about how we fell in love from our own perspective and why we loved each other and wanted to be together for the rest of our lives. So I wrote my story, and then I gave it to Michael so he could format his, but I didn't get to hear his version of our love story until I was standing there and we were about to become husband and wife. And in that moment, hearing his words in a way that he had never said them before, I cried. And I'm not much of a crier. And if ever there's a day that I need to feel more love, all I have to do is go back and read those words to that story. And so on this Valentine's Day, I hope all of you feel a little bit more love, but just don't be surprised if they cry. Okay, so there you go. I kind of went right into the story, but that's the story I posted. And then the very end of it, I posted the link and I hit submit. And I waited, and within seconds, well, as long as it took somebody to read the post, I started getting likes, there were shares, there were comments, and you can actually watch on your Facebook page the amount of reach that your post is having based on the likes and the interaction and the engagement of your post. And I tell you, the same link, the same information, but now framed into a story, it was 10 times, literally 10 times the level it had been without the story. And I tell you this, I'm super embarrassed because how did I miss that? It's because I'm too close. I was focused on my product. I was focused on the service I was providing at that moment, which was a video about Valentine's Day, that I forgot about my story. Why that message, why that video was even important to me. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is it can happen to the best of us. A lot of times we think that people don't have time to listen to our story, or that they wouldn't care. And I'll tell you, in that Facebook post, they did have to push the button that said continue reading. But they did, because that's what people care about. They want to continue reading your story. So please, I beg of you, learn from my mistake. Whether you're in the Shark Tank pitching to billionaire investors, or you're just putting something on Facebook, or you're having a face-to-face meeting with a potential new client, do not overlook the power of your story. They want to hear it, and you need to tell it. Okay. Well, I have to stop because I think that's the longest running take I have ever put on film, and I want to keep it going. I want to thank you so much for watching this, and if you found this information valuable, by all means, please pass it on to your other entrepreneur friends, because they need to be telling their stories as well. Make sure to subscribe so you get those exclusive emails, and until next time, remember, you are just one story from greatness. Bye, guys. That makes no sense. Gosh. My favorite thing to do on a Friday night is watch Shark Tank. You know, on NBC, ABC, Fox. I don't even know what channel it's on. Who wrote this script? Maybe I should have written a script. But for a lot of people, it's like TGIF, like thank goodness it's Friday, and for me it means thank goodness it's time to watch Shark Tank.